Hello and welcome to Enterprise 2020. My name is Ashwin Raghunath and I'll be your host this evening. And joining us is Bjorn Engelhardt, who is the Vice President of Strategic Sales and Cloud for Asia Pacific and Japan for Symantec. Now, Bjorn brings with him over 20 years of experience. So over the next half an hour, we're going to be picking all of that to understand how we can secure our enterprises. Now, I was having a chat with Bjorn a while back and we were discussing about security and emails, and we understood that over 70% of your company's intellectual property resides in those emails, and incidentally, emails can be the weakest link. A Control-C, a Control-V, or an accidental cross-posting from your company's secure email onto a social networking site can completely demolish all the security that you've tried to build and secure your data. Now, over the next half an hour, what we're seeking to do is trying to understand the challenges that diverse sectors have when it comes to securing enterprise information and archiving this information. Now, as we progress into the future, as more and more people use emails to correspond, the volume of data is likely to rise. Now, as important as it is to secure that data, it's equally important to archive them so that information can be pulled out at an instant notice. Now, what we will also be touching upon is emerging trends like bring your own devices and the kind of challenges they come across, and also talk about the best practices that we can engage and deploy to ensure that our enterprises are safer. Bjorn?
Ashwin, thank you. I think everybody's aware of cloud computing. We all talk about it. We understand, I think, potentially what it means. But I think the whole concept of delivering security through the cloud and delivering information management through the cloud is probably still an unfamiliar and not fully understood topic. So I'm going to go through it. I think if we go back and look at the Internet Security Threat Report that we just published in the last week, we can see these are changing times. The security of our infrastructure, the security of our information is at an all-time high. We are under attack as a world from the cyber criminals. Make no doubts about it, that there are people who want your information, there are people who want my information, be it my personal information, be it our corporate information. And so if we roll the clock back 10 years ago, what they wanted to do with our computer systems was simply deface our website, or the equivalent of graffiti. They wanted to spray paint our websites or destroy our hard drive to say, hey, I'm smarter than you, I could get into your machine. Today, they don't want to do that. These cyber criminals want to do one thing. They want to steal information because information equals money. And we've seen that change take place over the last few years, but in particular in the last year or so, it's become even more worrying in the types of attacks that we're seeing happening in the industry. So if I take India, for example, in the last year, we saw a 280% increase in the number of botnets being based here in India. These are automated networks that are either attacking other computers or sending out spam. And so what that's driven is that India now accounts for about 15% of the total spam globally. It's incredible change. We've seen that small businesses have become a target of attack. So whilst many of you represent the large businesses, you should never underestimate the role that a small business plays in your value chain. Small businesses are either your customers, they're your suppliers, they're your partners. In fact, we're seeing somewhere around about 31% of all targeted attacks are aimed at companies under 250 users. That's a huge change. That's a tripling over the last year, and that's probably one of the biggest changes we've seen in the last year, of going from 10% to 30% of all attacks at small businesses. We've seen an increase in what we call cyber espionage, targeted attacks, 42% increase in targeted attacks. This is where people determine that they want some information from your organization, from you as an individual. They'll use all sorts of information. They'll use social networking if you're on Facebook, like I am on a regular basis. If you're in the media, if they know where you went to school, they'll use that information to craft a specific attack about you or your organization. Typical example we see regularly, they send, hey, you used to go to this school, here's some information or a web link about an old school site or about a club that you're a member of. And you click on that, you inherently trust something that you've been part of before. And so those target attacks are being driven by social networking as well. And we've seen mobile malware increase as well. You know, the question I get asked every day is my mobile device going to expose my organization? And the answer is yes, it will, but it won't if you manage it properly. So who uses cloud security or cloud computing? Well, I think the answer is everybody. It isn't limited to any particular type of industry. If we're looking at email, as we talked about in the very beginning, email is something that we all use, from home right through to the biggest organisations. But we're seeing a trend that probably manufacturing organisations, they're under attack. They want to protect themselves better. Banking and financial services are using cloud security offerings as well. And there's a misconception that it's only for small organisations. That couldn't be further from the truth. And, the traditional trends around cloud computing is that we started at the small level somewhere and then it's going to grow up into the enterprise. In fact, 10 years ago, when the company that Symantec acquired Message Labs began, they were servicing multinational organisations for the simple reason that these organisations wanted to simplify their infrastructure, get somebody else to do it better. What you're seeing now is the trickle-down benefit is that the small SMEs, which India has millions of them like a lot of the other countries, are getting the same level of security service that you actually see at an enterprise level as well. So that can only be good for the partnerships you have and good for the partnerships that we have as well. So what's next? What does the horizon look like? And I think we'll discuss a little bit more about it today. But here at Symantec, one of the things we're focusing on is moving just away from being solely security focused into information. So protecting the gateway is important. Protecting the information once you have it stored and is that next challenge. Because we all have a lot of information. We need to keep that information for a certain period of time for our own internal requirements. We need to be able to find that information on demand, whether it's from a legal requirement or whether it's from a business requirement. And we need to know that at the end of its lifetime, that information has actually been deleted, because no information should be kept forever. Everything has a lifetime. And so as we talked about at the beginning, actually, when we're getting into email archiving, that is the next wave of cloud adoption that we're seeing in India. And we've seen some very interesting customers here, some manufacturing organizations. We've seen some banking organizations already adopting cloud-based email archiving as well. So they're truly exciting times. They're worrying times if you look at all of the attacks and threats out there. But I think there are some very clear answers out there, easy ways to solve some of these problems, and I look forward to the debate and discussion tonight.
Presented by Reliance General Insurance, protecting what you value.
The man with the right answers. For 19 years, he has fought relentlessly for your money, your rights. She has dedicated her life to spreading financial literacy. When it comes to personal finance, there is none better. Vivek Law, Monica Haller, and when they get together, your money gets smarter. BSC Investors Protection Fund presents Smart Money.
Presented by BSC Investors Protection Fund.
The power sector in India is facing a deep crisis, and companies have had to take a tough stance.
Unless the fuel risk aspect is clarified, we won't participate in the bidding.
But amidst this gloom, there are new opportunities for a company like Tata Power.
Balance half will have to be through organic and inorganic progress, and many of them will come internationally.
Catch the story as we go inside Tata Power at these times only on Bloomberg TV India.
Presented by Accenture, high performance delivered.
I love being on the road, I love being on the move.
I always fall in love with changing landscapes.
Drive.
Love street food.
I see, observe.
The more you see, you realize how little you knew.
I just try all the local flavors throughout the way.
I become part of all I travel.
It's a stress buster for me.
From Kutanad in Kerala to Leh in Ladakh, 15th to the 29th of June.
Go to Autocar India's Facebook page and register before 10th June.
The Audi Great Indian Quattro Drive, powered by Autocar.
See you there.
See you there.
See you guys there.
We've got a host of options in men's accessories from some of the biggest brands.
Metal, plastic or glass, we check out all the different materials that our gadgets consist of.
And we're putting the spotlight on some of the new luxuries inside your home, as international premium brands are now offering solutions for your kitchen, your bathroom and your entire living space.
Many legal questions are surfacing. The presidential reference makes it clear that the courts don't lay down policy. Now, the landmark judgment.
The Indian Supreme Court is perhaps the strongest body in the world.
The court is now extending its reach beyond normal litigation.
Do you see litigation of this kind only continuing?
There are so many people in the fray, so naturally the litigation will increase.
In every such case, you will find that there was a wrongdoer.
Legal corridors will be buzzing with news that impacts corporate India and policymakers.
Gentlemen, we're talking about email and we're talking about email security. Now, I was just thinking about the way you allow people to access emails. In some organizations, it's practically use email from any way you'd like. I'm just curious about if you can tell me, what are the restrictions that you're placing in the ways that people access emails? Are you giving people a free rein to access email from any device that they choose to do? Or are you putting security restrictions over how they can access the email? I'd like to hear your thoughts on it.
Definitely, we cannot allow free access from any instrument. For example, in our organization, we have devices which are provided by the company.
Right.
So wherever it is provided by the company, they will have a clear access. Where you use your own personal instruments, like let us say iPad or any other device, then we have authority restrictions. Only on based on a specific authorization, it is allowed to be used.
Okay.
And any restriction that we have in the normal access to various websites or whatever it is, they're all there. And you cannot, through a linkage, you cannot go to any site or anything. All those, the traditional restrictions that we have in the regular email usage will be applicable for those instruments as well.
Okay. I'd just like to hear from you about challenges that you faced in securing email, which when you look back in retrospect, is something that shouldn't have even existed. Because you have problems like these cropping up when you have like 60 lakh people and the database is lying out at open with people using Yahoo. How are you securing webmail usage? Because there's a possibility that people can just use a POP or an IMAP service and use their mails routed to Gmail, which is possible and which happens. How are you looking at securing that? Do you have policies that specifically address that?
See, being an IT company, it is not only we face the challenge, we are also required to take care of our clients in addressing such challenges and finding out solutions. In fact, there are clients in US who have asked us that when it comes to the email servers, there are certain email data when it is getting shared between the clients and the company, they want to have their own domain servers instead of using even our company's email ID or something. Because in one way they feel they are secure.
Okay.
In fact, we have 3 to 4 clients from US. They don't use our email server at all.
Right.
They have their own domain, and in fact the associates or the staff who are associated with that client, with the respective client, they are supposed to use only that email server and they are not supposed to use our email server at all.
Bjorn, is that a common practice?
So I was going to say, so what I'm hearing an interesting theme here, which is not unique to India or this room at all. It's around security is sometimes becoming an inhibitor to business, or the concerns about the security risks. I shouldn't say security, but the risks out there is becoming an inhibitor. And I always go back that the reason why we have technology is to make it easy to do business, to actually expand the people we can do business, the speed we can do business with. And so we have to look at technology to simplify that and trust that. And so I guess the example you're talking about, no, it's not a very common practice. What we're seeing now is companies actually using either business-to-business types of encryption solutions to say, well, I'm going to send an email, I'm going to send it to your organization. We trust each other through the encryption protocols being used, and so therefore we know that that email has been signed and is valid as well. And that's yet another cloud service that can be provided. But I guess we've got to look at it as a group here of how do we make security work for us to now enable us to do business rather than to create fear in the organization, which was a theme that I've heard very rapidly here.
Yeah, what I'm telling, one is the banks, all of institutions or any organization should have a very strong internal security policy. And against the policy, there should be a proper architecture. Similarly, as far as any messages using the external messages cannot be used by the institution. Institution has to use its own internal secured message with the antivirus and all the product like our Symantec, and ensure that that platform for internal messaging as well as the external messaging. In their personal capacity, if they are owning, that has got no personal liability or the institutional liability, and that will not be permitted in the organization. Organization has to have a clear-cut policy, and of course, as far as outsourcing and all, that currently there is no legal law, or the Reserve Bank also will not permit such outsourcing of the email communication. They have to be internal, and even are part of the Reserve Bank inspection, the architecture of the IT and the architecture of the security policy, and they have the system to find out where are the loopholes and what are the leakages, and there is a necessity that even any such things, data integrity and data protection is a very important. So the banks are also need to have very strong such security policy, and we will have to be definitely institutionalized with the knowledge to the people, knowledge to customers, knowledge to our staff, that it has to be on a safe and secure net.
Give me a summary as to the kind of trends that Symantec, the kind of solutions Symantec has been deploying on a global level, the more popular ones, the more chosen, and the solutions.
To answer the question, Ashwin, what are companies doing? They're starting with email security, email anti-spam and antivirus security. It's an easy business case to get across the line. It's very simple to let's move that piece, because actually there's no data being stored outside the organization, simply a pass-through mechanism. And so that's that, dip the water into cloud computing by trying something like email filtering, because you redirect it to us, we clean it, we block it, do whatever we need to, and we send it on back onto the organization. They're then moving on to they see the benefits of that. They're moving on to endpoint security, saying, yes, I'll have an agent on my device, but I want to manage that in the cloud. And now they're starting to adopt email archiving, saying that the same topics we were talking about before is that I need access to all my emails, all my information as well. But some of the best practices, you did ask that question before, there's no substitute for education. All of you gentlemen have been saying one thing: email is a legal tender or legal document in our organization. I don't think we spend enough time educating our own employees about acceptable usage policies. What is an email, how it should be used, who do you send it to, those types of things. And we can put all the policies we want in place at a business level or technology, but unless we're spending that time with our own employees, I think that's one of the first steps that we need to take.
This is the new age algorithmic high-frequency trading-driven strategy. The manufacturers story that we are breaking for you right now here. Finance Ministry is not going to levy any extra tax. Coal India is unable to assure maximum fuel supply. Welcome to the big story. I'm Vivek Law.
Trades every day.
Every morning, our eyes are set on the early morning buzz.
The opening bell rings and trading begins.
We look out for the most relevant happenings in the stock market.
Relevant to India Inc., the economy, and most importantly, to you.
So join us
on First Trades.
Presented by BSE Investors Protection Fund.
Email security, and also ensuring that from the external attacks, how do we save? I think this is a very informative, and it also gives a roadmap for future plans of the bank.
Symantec always believes in taking feedback directly from the customer, trying to understand their concern areas and building a solution to mitigate those risks attached to their infrastructure.
Concern that still remains is how does the rest of society, if you take it as a big whiteboard with things outside the enterprise, how do you sort of influence those through policy, through technology?
Presented by Symantec.Cloud.
It has been a day where the government has faced much ire from the opposition.
We've seen the bulls take charge of the market.
Senior Asia economist at JP Morgan, Jahangir Aziz, says
6.7% looks a tad difficult to read.
political instability is leading to several regulatory hurdles.
As ever, this edition of The Final Word is going to be a packed one.
Frauds, how do they happen? And what are their consequences? Who is the ultimate sufferer? Of course you, the consumer, the investor. But now these cheats can run, but they cannot hide. Because our in-depth investigation will reveal the truth. We will keep a constant vigil on these fraudsters. So come join us and let's fight back.
I'm going to ask you two questions.
Yep.
Before we get to the first practices, how does Symantec manage email?
How do we manage emails?
Yeah.
So because we, it's a very good question, and I'm very proud to answer that. So we do drink our own champagne. So we have our eat our own cooking, drink our own champagne type policy within Symantec, and so we try all of our products before it actually gets released on any of our customers. So you should all feel proud that we've put the hard work in, and so I'm one of the testers, and I feel quite proud about it. From an email filtering perspective, we supply many solutions. Obviously, cloud is our leading solution and is what we're out there pushing about today. But we have appliances and on-premise software as well. And so we use both that and our cloud services for different domains within Symantec. We also archive all our own email. Enterprise Vault is the archiving platform. And every single email that's received is automatically put into an archive, kept there. I can access it if I want to. I can't modify it, but I can access what I've kept in there. I can go back 10 years and see an email when I first started dealing with India. So we use the same practices that we recommend, which is protect email coming in, get rid of all of the attacks, the malicious attacks coming in, keep it through an accepted usage policy and educate our people, and expire it at the end of a lifetime when it reaches that lifetime. Because I think, as the gentleman there said, when you get to the end, every email has a lifetime, every piece of information has a lifetime, and you want to ensure it's been expired. Because if you're in one of these litigious industries, when it's 7 years and 1 minute, you don't want to keep that email in case someone's coming after you. You want to know it's deleted and deleted everywhere, that it's not just deleted off your index, but it's deleted off your hard drives, everything.
Have you implemented policies on social media usage within your companies? What are the kind of policies that you have? Because like I said, it's incredibly easy to just press Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V, and there you go, poof. Your intellectual property is now the proud recipient in your competitor's inbox. So what kind of policies have you actually implemented, and what's the rate of success of these policies? If you have an active policy with social media, I'm talking about LinkedIn, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Pinterest, the works.
It again depends on the functions. Today, if you look at it, most of the HR thrive based on social media.
Right. Yep.
Right. So it depends on the what function you are in and what kind of access that you might need. LinkedIn is the favorite site for anybody to go in and look for people. You look at the function and then decide what is required for them and what is not required for them.
So which means that you have a policy within your intranet that's going to block people from coming in and viewing sites, and you're not supposed to do it. But that goes for a toss when it's a question of BYOD, or as Bjorn says, bring your own everything. How are you regulating that usage?
The thing is, again, as you earlier mentioned, it depends on possibly as an organization at what stage you are in.
Correct.
BYOD may not be a big thing today, but personally within my company I can say that that is a trend that is catching up. Sure. And everybody wants to have the latest of the devices and put it to use, not just have the devices, but put it to use even for work-related items. So definitely that is a trend that is maybe it will take a few more years for it to become really active, but BYOD is definitely catching up.
I don't think it'll be years.